Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Greg Kimball, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Captain Lisa Batchelor. We warmly welcome the family of Private Ernest Taylor, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Mr. Gordon Ramsay, ACT Minister for Veterans and Seniors. We also welcome the members of the Defence ASPI Regional Conference who are in attendance this evening. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcasts of this ceremony across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths and floral tributes will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Cambridge Gardens Public School, Cambridge Park. From Tasmania, Emmanuel Christian School, Rokeby, and Penguin District School, Penguin. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Ernest Taylor. Ernest Taylor was born in Bundalong, Victoria in 1884 to Charles and Annie Taylor. By the time the First World War began, the family had moved to Oaklands in New South Wales, where Ernest was working as a labourer. He enlisted for service in the Australian Imperial Force at Yarrawonga on the 3rd of October 1914, and after initial training, he joined the 14th Battalion at Broadmeadows. He and his unit embarked from Melbourne on the 22nd of December aboard the transport ship Berrima. After several months of training in the desert sands of Egypt, the 14th Battalion sailed to Lemnos in April to prepare for the Gallipoli campaign. The 14th Battalion went ashore at Gallipoli during the afternoon of the 25th of April. Over the next week, the men worked hard, digging defensive positions and keeping the Ottoman troops at bay. Taylor was shot in the neck on the 5th of May and was evacuated to Egypt for treatment and recovery. However, his wound was not serious and he soon returned to Gallipoli. After several months of stalemate, the Allies launched the August Offensive in an attempt to break out from the Anzac beachhead. The 4th Brigade began its advance during the night of the 6th of August, but progress was slow. The following day found the men well short of their objectives, and they struggled to hang on to their positions. In an attempt to continue the advance towards Hill 971, the Australian troops attacked on the morning of the 8th of August. They never got close. The attack was a costly failure, and the Australians were forced to withdraw, taking a number of wounded and dead back with them. Among the fallen carried out was Taylor. A witness stated that he had seen Taylor get hit during the charge and that he didn't get up. Ernest Taylor was 31 years old. His remains were interred in the Norfolk Cemetery. He was listed as missing in action, but a court of inquiry held in Egypt on the 1st of April 1916 found that he had been killed in action during the attack towards Hill 971. After the end of the war, a graves registration team exhumed his remains and reinterred them at the 7th Field Ambulance Cemetery. The exact location of the reburial was lost. Instead, a memorial headstone was placed in the cemetery. Inscribed at the top of the headstone are the words, "Believed to be buried in this cemetery." His mother had the following epitaph added to his memorial: "Their glory shall not be blotted out." Ernest Taylor's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of sacrifice and service told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Ernest Taylor, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Meade. Many a man, laying out there in Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last place ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.